Hello, my name is Julia Plummer. I'm from Pennsylvania State University, and today I'll be talking about how to write a successful astronomy education research abstract. So the goal of this talk is to provide guidance for those interested in writing compelling abstracts for the astronomy education research session of the Shaw-IAU Workshop. As a reminder, abstracts are limited to 200 to 800 characters, so I hope to share some ideas about what is important to include when faced with such a limited space. These are some general features of a research abstract. I think it's important to keep these in mind as you write an abstract and try to touch on each of these 5 points as you develop your abstract. Include an introduction. This provides context and explains the importance of the research problem. Include the purpose of your specific study. This indicates the study's main goal and why it's relevant. Describe the methods. So briefly describe your research design, your approach, and procedures. Summarize the main findings and conclude with implications. What is the significance or the contribution to the field? So what does that look like in such a short amount of space? I'm going to walk through 2 example abstracts. These are from myself or my colleagues that have given permission to use these for this purpose. So the first is an abstract that is 790 characters, so it's getting close but not over the limit. And it starts with an introduction that sets the context and the purpose of this study. Artificial light at night acts as a pervasive form of pollution, yet often goes unnoticed by the general public. And then it moves into the purpose of this particular study. Uh, in an effort to determine how to increase children's interest in reducing artificial light at night, we presented one of 2 planetarium shows to 52 families. The next section describes the methods. So the idea that there was 52 families, one show focused on local narratives, the other show was the same content but without those narrative elements, and then describes that the analysis was pre-post surveys. There's a section on findings. What did we find in this study? Children from both groups showed a significant increase in awareness of artificial light at night and motivation to make change. And finally, we look at the implications. So what does the study mean for, what's the big takeaway? What should we learn from this as a field? Findings indicate planetarium education improves children's investment in and concern for the issue. So it's very brief on each of the 5 points, but it's all wrapped up in one abstract. Here's another example that doesn't actually include all of these items as well. This was my own abstract from 2 years ago, and I clearly wasn't thinking about those 5 principles. It completely misses the introduction. I did not do a good job at setting the stage for what's the context, what's the bigger idea that this study is embedded in that might be important for us to know. Instead, I went right into the purpose of this study. And so you might be left kind of feeling like you're missing something because you don't understand why we investigated college education majors and what they consider who does astronomy and what counts. Like, how does that fit into a bigger narrative? The methods are relatively short, a thematic analysis of student storybooks. It gives you a sense of what our analysis looked like, but maybe we should have gone into a little more detail or depth, such as the number of participants, the type of coding we used, for example. A lot of time, well, a lot of space is spent on the findings. So we've presented, so this demonstrates that we do have findings. We have a relatively complete project, and so the talk will be based on, something, a work that's not at the beginning stages, but at least is in progress or is wrapping up. And we did conclude with implications. The Storybook project helped us understand how students can apply an anti-deficit perspective to the creation of classroom media. So this is something you could walk away with knowing kind of that's the big takeaway and implication for the field. So to wrap up, I'll just to suggest that successful proposals demonstrate that a study has been completed or at least has initial findings. So we can see that evident in the abstract. And, I would just suggest that you make sure to include enough detail for the committee to understand what was done, why was it done, and what was learned. So with that, I'll say thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.